Hello, good evening, everyone. Good day, good day, good day. Today is an awesome day, and it's been raining cats and dogs all evening here in Abuja, Nigeria. So, wherever you're watching me from, you're welcome to this evening live session. My name is Oluwatoyin Ogunkomi. I'm the host of the Smart Parenting platform. I host this live shows on during the week, and also I have a platform on Facebook where parents also join, and we have conversations around parenting. So today we have an interesting topic. Yes, today we have an interesting topic. Today we're talking about how parents can teach traditional values to their children, how parents can teach traditional values to their children, to the 21st century, to the 21st century child. So you're welcome to this evening live session. And as you're joining, I'd like you to just go to the comment section and just tell us where you're watching from. Would really like to know where you're watching from. So just tell us where you're watching from, so that we can we know where our audience are from. So, like I said, this evening we're talking about how we can teach traditional values to our 21st century child. So, one thing we need to know as parents is that the 21st century came with so many great things. The 21st century came with things like technology, innovation, improvement in the quality and the standard of living of citizens. Also, lots of development in almost all the sectors, in the educational sector, in the transportation sector, the health industry. The so many sectors actually um, so many sectors were developed, new sectors came up, and the old sectors, so many developments happened in these sectors. However, with these improvements and innovation also came along some challenges and wokeness in the children. So some of the challenges that came with this generation include gender-based violence, gender and identity confusion, this influence of the social media, materialism, increase in the use of drugs and substances. There are so many other challenges that this generation actually came with. And as parents, it's very important that we actually need to, guide our children, guide them to navigate through this century without being swallowed by it. If you read my post this morning, in my post this morning, I said that it's as if the world is on a campaign just to unleash all sorts of negative things, right? And if parents are not deliberate, if parents are not intentional in the way they're raising their children might actually be swallowed up in this, in all the things happening in this generation. And one thing we need to know as parents is that we cannot leave these teachings to the school. I'm sure most of you have seen a lot of things coming up on social media about things school teachers, especially children in public school, what they're being taught, what the teachers are teaching children in public school, especially when it comes to their gender identity, and also when it comes to their gender, the identity of their gender and sex identity. A whole lot of negative things are being pushed to our children. And the way the world is going, they're teaching them right from kindergarten, a lot of all these things. So as parents, you need to know that it's your duty, it's your responsibility to take time to teach your children the values, the things that are important to you. If you don't take your time to teach your children these values, the world will teach them what they want your children to learn. So today I'll be talking about what are the traditional values. What are those things that our parents taught us that are very important, that upheld us, those values, those things that our parents taught us, and that guided our decision making process even up to now that we are adults. So I'll be giving a few examples of what these values are. But before I go into the examples of values, let me even define what, when we talk about values, what are values, So just like at the workplace where we have values, work values, such as we have personal values, it's important that in families we have values in families. And your family values are simply the set of moral or ethical principles or standard that guides the behavior of members of the family. These values are upheld and passed from one generation to another generation. And that's why we call them traditional values, because these values have been tested, they've been tried, and they have served the previous generation. And it's important as parents that we actually go back and, what were the things your parents taught you? What were the things you learned from your grandma when growing up? These are things we need to transfer or transfer to the next generation. Because if we don't teach our children these values, what are they going to teach their own children? So it's very important as parents that we take our time to just not just one weekend sit down and just go down memory lane. What were the things your parents taught you that, and these things are still serving you till now? Please make a list of all these values and please start teaching your children. Our family values influence our judgment, they influence our behavior, they also influence the parenting styles of parents. One thing we need to know about values is that they guide our decision making process. They guide how we live, how we make our decision, how we interact with people. Another thing we need to know about values is that they guide, they help us with, it gives us they give us a sense of direction, and they give us a sense of purpose. Your values are like a guiding compass. You know the way the compass is, when we get missing, and the compass will guide you and direct you till you find your path. That is the way your values are to your children. Your family values would shape them to becoming people you envision them to be. So one of the things I tell parents when they come for my parenting coaching, I ask them, what kind of adult do you want your child to be? What type of person do you see your child becoming in the future? Once you can envision, once you have a vision of who you want your child to be, sit down and write the values, the character traits of that kind of person. So if you want your child to be a hardworking, honest person, what are the character traits of that kind of person? If you want your child to be independent, innovative, entrepreneur, what are the values or what are the character traits or values that will make that child who to become that person you want him or her to be? So one thing we need to know as parents is that our values are important. Your family values reflect how you want to raise your children and what kind of adults you'd like to see them become. Having family values are very important. So, like I said earlier, I said one of the challenges with this generation is that we have children who are confused. They don't have a sense of identity. They're just confused. They don't know who they are. But if you've raised your child or your children with values, it gives them a sense of identity. Your values are, or your family values, they're a source of protection for your child. It guides your children or your child from making some costly mistakes. I work as a clinical psychologist in a mental health facility. And when we have discussions with our patients, one of the things I understand or I realize with those that battle with substance abuse, not some of them, they will tell you that, oh, their parents just raised them, but the parents were not intentional and deliberate to teach them these values. Because if their parents had done that, it would have saved them from a whole lot of mistakes that they went into. So your values is a source of protection for your child. Your values will guide them from making some costly mistake. Another thing your value will do is it will teach your child, have the sense of wrong and right. Help your child to know what is expected of them and what they are not meant to do. Your value also would guide your children in in the way they respond to people, in the way they respond to issues, in the way they respond to events. So your family values are very important. It's important that we teach our children these traditional values. I'm going to list just a few of these traditional values, but I have an ebook that I've written. The title of the ebook is called Your Family Character and Value Building Guide. It's a guide that will help you in building character and values in your children. And in the guide, I've written a whole lot of values, different values we can teach our children. We have values like fairness and equity, responsibility, we have honesty, we have integrity, we have patience, we have perseverance, we have love, we have spirituality, we have loyalty, we have respect, we have care, we have honesty, self compassion. These are just a few of the values. If you want to know, if you want to know more, there's one thing I did in the book is I I put steps on how you can clarify, identify, and clarify your values. Value clarification is another process parents need to, for you to teach your children your values, you need to be able to have clarify what these values are for the family. The process where you're able to identify your beliefs and your virtue. This is what is known as your value clarification process. And this step starts with you knowing what is important to your family, what is important to every member of the family. This process creates helps you to become more aware of the values that are important to you. So one of the things I did in the book is that I listed out a whole lot of values. I think we have over 50 values written in the book. All you need to do as a family is to get the book, sit down together, the husband, the wife, the children, all of you should come together, go through the list and pick out the ones that are important to you. This process is known as value clarification. And one thing you can do, if you have children older than 10 years old, let them come up with their own values too. Give them the list. Let them come up with the things that are important to them, the things that make sense, that that they that will guide them. Let them come up with it. But however, if you have children lower than 10, you can actually do this process for them between you and your spouse. It's very important that we clarify our values. Family values are very, very important. When you have values in your family, when you're able to teach your children these values, it helps them. It helps them in knowing who they are. It helps them in knowing what is important to them as a family, as the family, and also as individuals. And also it helps them, it keeps the family focused. When you have values, when your children know what is expected of them, it keeps them focused. So there are times when things will happen in school, or certain things will happen. Your children will not want to do those things because they know who they are. They know that in our home, we don't do these things. In our family, these things are not they're not part of who we are. And like I said, your family values gives you an identity. Your family values gives you an identity. And there are different types of values, like I said. So we have your moral values. These ones are, you have the personal conduct and social values. This will guide the way you treat other people in the society. Your moral value or personal value are the ones that guide your actions as individual. That's knowing between the right and wrong, knowing between what is right and what is wrong. And you have traits like kindness, integrity, honesty, generosity, courage in this category. The next category is the one known as personal conduct and social behavior. Like I said, this guides the way your family members interact with each other and also interact with the larger society. So it's important as parents that we are able to identify what are our personal value, what are our social behavior or conduct value. And this part of this under the social values are, communication skill, empathy, respect, kindness, patience. No, this has to do with your relationship with other people. So when your children are able to identify these values and you're able to teach them how to imbibe this value, first of all, they'll have respect for themselves. They'll also have respect for the other family members. And not just that, by the time they go out into the larger society, they will also know how to interact and communicate, interact with other people. So, like I said, if you have questions, you can put it in the comment section. I would always check and let me see. Okay, right now we don't have any question. So let's continue. So I said that different types of values. I said we have your personal values, you have social values that has to do with your interaction with other people. We also have religious values. These are values that's centered around our beliefs and our faith. And in homes, I'm sure, especially for those that are from Nigeria, I know religion is something that is very, very important to us. Our spirituality and our religion is very, very important to us. And so, for example, the Christian faiths now, they have their own values. For example, when it comes to dating, one of the values of the Christian faith is that when you're dating, you don't have sex until you're ready to get married. That's a value. That's something that you can imbibe in your children. Then another thing is showing compassion to people in need. That's being benevolent, giving out benevolence and all that. Then also another set of values that we can teach our children are work values, work ethic. A family's work ethic can shape how your child view his schoolwork, how your child views his when he grows older, his work, how he goes to work, and how the quality of work he would do. Based on the work values you've instilled in your child from home, when your child is ready to go into the large society to start working, these values will guide his work ethics. It will shape the kind of person your child will be when he goes out there. So there are so many values I've broken down in the book, the Family Character and Value Building Guide. And the book it's an ebook, and it's just going for less than $10. It's going for less than $10. So if you're interested, I'm going to put the link on how to get the book. And it's a book every parent needs. It's a guide, and in this guide you will learn a whole lot. So another thing we need to know when it comes to value is how to teach these values. So one thing we need to know as parents that before you can teach your children any value, you need to be the custodian of that value. Let me repeat myself. Before you can teach your child or your children any value, you need to be the custodian. That means you need to be living and breathing that value. It's important as parents that we model. Our children learn a whole lot by modeling. It's what they see us do is what they do. What our children see us do is what they do. So, what are the ways we can teach our children these values? First is by modeling these values. Let our children see us acting, see us, living this value. So, first step in teaching your children the value is number one, you need to be clear. You have to know clarity. These are our values. Number two, you need to live the value. You need to model the value. Number three, when you're teaching your children the value, you need to be able to communicate the why these values are important to your family. It's very important. When you communicate the why to them, it's something that they will internalize, it's something that they will buy into, and it's something that they'll be able to transfer to their children. But if you do not teach your children the why, the reason behind each value, they will not internalize it. They will just be pretending when you are there. When you're not there, they'll do something else. So, for example, if you tell your children that honesty is a value, why do they need to be honest? Explain to them. Just don't say, oh, we need to be honest because we have to be honest. Mm-mm. You need to give them detailed explanation. They need to know the reason behind that value. And when they know the reason behind the value, they're able to internalize that value. Another thing we can, so the fourth way, so the first way, I said you need to clarify the value. They need to know the why. You need to be able to identify and say these are the values that are important in our families. The second is you need to communicate the value. Tell them why. Teach them. Let them know. Let them know why it's important. And the third way we can teach or transfer the value is by modeling. Let our children see us living that value. Let our children see us living that value. Let them see us living it. So if you say you are honest, you don't lie. If you say you are caring, you should be able to, the children should be able to know that mommy is caring. They should be able to feel it. If you say you have integrity or you have compassion for other people, your children should be able to see this in you. One thing we need to know is that when we don't teach our children our values, when we don't take our time to teach them these values, they'll pick up. One thing I tell parents that life abhors vacuum. What if you're not teaching your child something, your child is learning something else. And that's why it's important we start teaching our children values from home. What are your spiritual values? What are your work values? What are your personal values? What are your social values? These are things we need to start teaching our children from home. Modeling important. Then also we need to be consistent in our teaching. Another way we can teach our children these values is by role modeling. So you've taught them about kindness. Do a role play. Let them act it out. Let them know what it means to be kind. Let them know what it means to have tenacity. Let them know what it means to be perseverant. Do a role model in the home. It's very role play in the home. It's very important. Teaching our children these values will go a long way in helping them. It builds their self-confidence, it gives them a sense of self-worth, it opens doors for them. A child that is honest, or a child that has integrity, or a child that is caring, those character traits will open opportunities and doors for them even when you're not there. These things will speak for them. These values will speak for them even when you're not there as a parent. So it's important. It also helps them when it comes to um social skills. So because you've taught them social values, how to relate and treat other people, it helps them to build that social circle, when they have friends, when people would look out for them, because they know that, oh, this person is a responsible person. Another thing it's your values would your teaching your children values will do for them is that it will build self-respect in them. So they'll respect themselves because they know that, oh no, in our family we don't do that. In the Ogunkomi family, we don't speak rudely to people. Or in the Ogunkomi family, we don't take things that do not belong to us. It's would give them self-respect and also respect for others. So I'll be stopping here. Let me just do a recap. I spoke about what values are. I spoke about the reason we need to teach our children values. I said the 21st century is filled with all sorts of positive and negative things. And like I said, like, it seems like the world is leashing out. The world is ready to unleash a whole lot of negative things into the next generation. And if you are not in the lives of your children to teach them about values, to teach them your own values, to teach them your own good character traits, their child will definitely pick up character traits from other people, especially if they go, if you're not present in their lives, if you're not always around them, if there are other people around them. So if you have other people around your children, ensure that the people that are working with you, people that are people that are constantly in contact with them, maybe like your house, your domestic staff and all that, ensure that they buy into your values too, because that is when it becomes easier for you to teach and for your children to retain what you've taught them. Very important. So I also spoke about the ways we can teach the values. I said the first way is, first of all, clarifying these values. What are the things we want as a family? So if you have children below 10, your husband and wife can come up with this. If you have children above 10, invite them. Everybody should sit down and talk about this. I also spoke about when you're communicating your values to them, ensure that you explain the why, the reason behind each value. That is when they'll be able to internalize those values. I also spoke about you being a role model, being the perfect role model, meaning that what you're teaching is what you should be doing. I also spoke about role play. Teach them by role play, let them practice it in the house. I spoke about being consistent as parents. You have to be consistent. If you are teaching A today, tomorrow you also need to teach A. Not that you're teaching A today and tomorrow you're acting out B and you're acting out C the next day. That means it's you that you are confusing the child. you know. So I just want to say thank you. Tomorrow we're talking about another topic on under the series, how to navigate your children through the 21st century, how to navigate your children in the 21st century. Tomorrow is another topic that we'll be talking about. You'll see the poster by tomorrow morning on how we can navigate our children in the 21st century. The first step is ensuring that you teach your children values, you instill these values in them, and ensure that they internalize this value. This training that I just did for 30 minutes is actually like a 4 week program that I do with parents. It's a 4 week program I do with parents on how to instill values. So if you want my book, I'm going to put the link down on how you can get the book. It's an ebook titled Family Character and Value Building Guide. So it's important we get this. It's I've explained a whole lot in the book, and it's just going for 1,500. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who's watched me, to those who will be coming to watch later. Yeah, for those that are coming to watch later, um, just drop your comment and let's chat. So my name is Oluwatoyin Ogunkomi. I hope I introduced myself when I started. I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm also a family life practitioner. I work with parents. I work with individuals to live a thriving life. I do therapy sessions. I do coaching sessions for parents. I do therapy sessions for individuals. I work with substance use patients. I work with patients who are battling with one form of mental illness or the other. So, in case you need to speak to me, in case you just send me a message, I always respond to you. Thank you so much. Have a nice and wonderful evening. See ya.